Welcome everyone to episode 176 of the JSB GamesCast. I'm your host Rob, aka Zen. Joining me today, my two favorite people. Ryan, how are you?
What's up? How are we doing there? Hopefully everyone's doing okay. I'm doing perfectly fine. I'm a little multitasking a little bit, but I am definitely here for the podcast.
Definitely understandable. I feel like this is a multitasking podcast. The other multitasker on this call, Drew, how are you?
God damn it.
He's multitasking by both playing games and dying.
I am all right. I am trying to make up for lost time. And trying to play video games. That's what this podcast is for, is to play some games. And that's what we're trying to do.
That is what we try to do. That's kind of what this whole thing is, right? We try to play some video games and we try to talk about some video games.
Emphasis on try.
Emphasis on try. We are all working adults with fairly busy lives, right? So not always the case where we can get to a bunch of different things, but we try to fit it in where we can. Some quick housekeeping before we all start. Once again, we did do the JSB anime cast, not this past weekend, but the weekend prior. That was focused on an anime called Paranoia Agent. Definitely want people to go check that out. You can find that on our YouTube, as well as all the audio services under JSB Anime. It was one of my favorite episodes that we have done, so I definitely want people to check that out if you can. But outside of that, that's really all I had for this intro. It felt like I had more, and I think I did have more to say, and then I just kind of like forgot it as I started talking. So if it comes back to me, I'll bring it up. But other than that, let's get into some video games. Any volunteers to start?
I mean, I can go ahead and start because we know Drew's.
He's making
up time. So
granted, we got to stall for Drew.
Yeah, granted, it's not going to be a lot of time because I've been busy with a bunch of other things that's going on. Of course, I think I told you guys last podcast, basically getting things ready for my first ever art booth. I'm now doing it a couple weeks from now, and so I've been mainly focused on that and trying to get things ready for that. So with that, there hasn't been a lot of gaming per se, but there's still been enough to where I can definitely keep talking about Idol Showdown.
Because you want to talk about a game that has taken over my life.
Yeah, that game it has been a while since I have been just cracking out on a fighting game. And this has been that game that's been for sure fulfilling that competitive fighting game side of it, at least until Street Fighter 6 comes out. But even then, I feel like I'm still going to be playing this game on top of Street Fighter 6. I just have that feeling.
It's just a really fun game.
It really is.
It's probably not the most well balanced video game, but it is a fun video game. And and I say not balanced, but it's one of those games that's broken in a really fun way. Every character is juiced to an extreme, right? So it's even the weakest character is still you're this is bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it definitely is for sure. I've definitely been playing a lot of it. I still been playing a lot of Botan. That character's just too fun. I'm
gonna pick up Botan eventually.
She's just way too fun. I mean, I've tried out some of the other characters and everything, but as far as fun factor goes, that's the character I have the most fun with. So I'm definitely staying with, gonna be sticking with her for the most part when it comes to that. But I mean, it's just funny, all the different things that you keep finding with the game and finding with characters and stuff like that and everything that just makes the game just super enjoyable. So I've definitely been playing that a lot. I did also gone back to playing a few other of the rhythm games. Muse Dash dropped another DLC pack. Nothing big though, but they keep adding tracks to the game. It's just like every time I see them add more tracks to the game, I gotta boot it back up and play because, it's one of my. It's still probably, as far as rhythm games go, it's still probably like my favorite rhythm game to play. Simply because it's just like super easy and it's like 2 buttons, and I just really like all the different OSTs they put in the game, especially like with the Toho tracks and stuff like that. And then I actually, when I took the trip to Nakama to kind of check it out for the art booth stuff and everything and kind of get a gauge for everything, I did go down the street a little bit over to Leaderboard and checked out and see if they had anything new and stuff like that. They've updated some of those rhythm games over there now too. I keep forgetting the damn pronunciation of it, but it starts with a C, like CH or whatever. Yeah, that one. They've added new tracks to that to that one as well. That one is probably still like over there, like at Leaderboard. That's probably still like my favorite rhythm game to play because it's just unique with how you play it and stuff like that. But they've definitely added some new stuff, at least from like the last time I saw it.
Nice.
They've updated it, and I guess I don't know if we talked about it before, but Leaderboard's actually going to be opening up another location soon.
Yes.
Over at
over in Rob's area, right?
No, it's actually going to be in the Mandarin area. So before you
Mandarin.
Yeah, so before you cross the bridge to go into Orange Park, like before you go over that bridge, it's going to be off those exits there. Is where the new location is going to be.
That's still closer.
Yeah. Oh, very much so. Still very much.
That's still like 10 minutes ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's still like, so it will definitely be a much easier trip to take in that regard. But they I was talking with some of the people over there, and I think they said that they're planning on opening that other location sometime in the summer, I want to say. I think they're like pegging.
Sounds
like
right.
They're trying to go for July or something like that.
Yeah, fun side note actually. Fellow JSB anime host Jenny, her band is actually going to play over there on the opening day.
Oh, really?
They're gonna do a small concert outside. Yeah.
Interesting. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
So definitely, it's going to be a fun time when that location opens. I'm very, very excited to go check it out.
See, JSB just continues to do different things to take over society.
We're all over the place. We're all over.
Yeah.
We got people in bands. We got people on the moon. Like, listen, we're everywhere.
We are indeed everywhere. Do not mess with us. For we are legion. No, I'm kidding.
We are legion.
So, like, gaming-wise, like, that's really all I've done. Because, like I said, a lot of my time has been dedicated to getting things ready for this art booth, which I did put up a new piece, too, which, for those that are Valhalla fans, I decided to do a remake of Alma. And this is by far been probably my biggest piece I've ever done. I gotten over 200 likes on Twitter for this piece.
Love that. That's awesome.
That's my first, like, definitely my most well-received piece. And even when I did the Alma piece last year that I did, it also took off and got a lot of traction too, but not as much as this new one that I just did. So definitely check that out if you guys want to. RCB_draws. That's where you can find that. And that's been pretty much it as far as things that I've been doing. I want to start Star Rail. I still want to play that game. I still want to boot that up and everything. I'm hoping maybe I can try to boot that up sometime this week. Maybe Tuesday or something like that. Because I definitely want to get in on the Star Rail action and kind of talk Star Rail things with you. So
Star Rail things with me.
Yeah. So and also still been grinding out Memento Mori.
Oh yeah, I'm still on that kick.
I finally got past a certain part in the story map stuff. In that game, and
congrats.
It's still very much a grind, and I'm now trying to get Merlin to be a limited version of her. I almost have it. I just need to get like one more Merlin to go ahead and unlock and uncap that part, and then I'm pretty close to leveling up Florence as well. I think
my Merlin's actually in the same spot. I need one more for the LR.
Yeah, so like
they just won't give it to me.
Yeah, that was my way with Florence for a while too, and then like when I finally was able to get the limited uncapped on Florence too, I was just like, oh, thank God. and like now that I got the purple armor on her and stuff like that and everything,
yes, almost
all of it. I think I'm missing like the boots or stuff like that and everything, but everything else she has the SS armor and stuff like that, and she is dishing out the damahe like
that's
all
it
over the place. I think Cordy still does the most damage for me, but that's because Cordy's at level 240.
Okay, and Florence is 220, I'm imagining, or 200.
Yeah,
200. Okay,
yeah. So like Cordy still like attack and damage and everything is like 11 million or something like that. So like Cordy,
if they were the same level, she would Florence would double Cordy.
Yeah. So like I'm still working on that, which reminds me I need to do my dailies in Memento Mori soon. I don't want to forget those. Good news is I can do those in like 10 minutes. So
hell yeah.
Because Memento Mori is a great mobile game where you can do things very, very quickly.
I'm so upset. So I finally got Belle when they did the rerun.
Oh, you did?
Right?
Nice.
I finally got Belle. I was like, hell yeah. This new girl that's in the banner that just went away or is going away in like 3 hours, I don't have her.
Oh, no.
So I'm in this situation again where I'm not going to get her, and I have to wait. Now one character.
You have to wait to get her and stuff like that.
I am doomed to never have a complete collection of characters.
Yeah, because like you'll finally get one to be like, yes, I got one, and then Memento Mori's like, oh, you think you got them all now? Here, let's drop a new character.
Let's drop a new character, which the new character drops in a couple of hours, and I'm like, well, guess I'm just gunning for this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, but I've definitely been, like I said, it's been a while since I played a game on phone like that. Probably since Grand Blue is probably the last time I did like grind a mobile game like that. But yeah, this Memento Mori has definitely been like hitting all the right spots as far as like how like I perceive mobile games to be now and stuff like that and everything.
Yeah, it just has like a very like straightforward progression path too. Like it's not because like Grand Blue gets very complicated after a certain point, right?
It
where it's like you have all of these different bosses.
It attacks you with menus and like I tried to get into Grand Blue several times and I just couldn't because it's just you get overwhelmed very, very, very fast.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is very true.
Really, really, really overwhelming.
Well,
it's cool. Like there's a lot of really cool mechanics and stuff in there, but it's very hard to like break through and get there, and it's too much.
And I think the other thing too with like Grand Blue, which I think part of the reason why I stopped playing it is because like when you're trying to uncap your SSR characters, right? Like you're trying to uncap all of them and everything. There's some characters where their like requirements are so different from everybody else.
Yeah.
And what came to mind was the Eternals. And what you have to do to uncap them, and I'm like, this is a freaking chore. I don't have time for all this.
It really does become a chore. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like you have to do this and you have to hope that you get this right, and it's just like I don't have all this time to just resource dump into trying to like just uncap one damn character. Like I'm like, nah, that's it for me. I'm tapping out. Like I enjoyed everything else about it. I loved the art style. I loved how they did everything. The music's great in that game too and everything. Like it's a great game, but it's a game where like I just don't have the time to dump all that stuff into anymore.
It's a second job.
Yeah. I mean,
Grand Blue is literally a second job.
Yeah, and it's just like, look, I'm already trying to work 3 other jobs. Like, I don't need to do all that. So.
Mm-hmm. And like Memento Mori just distills it all into like its purest form. Like, there's one very simple way to uncap characters and level them up, and it's just get the better equipment, make the number go higher.
Mm-hmm.
Very straightforward.
Yeah, so that's basically what I'm doing. And here, like, listen, check this out. We were talking about this, and I've already completed all my dailies in Memento Mori. So
boom.
It's that easy. Done.
That's simple.
Done.
Easy.
That's why I'm wrapping this up. I
love it.
I just got done talking about it, and I'm done with the dailies now. It's that quick. We're done. Next subject. Next topic.
Next topic. Is that the baton pass?
Yes, it is a baton pass.
Let's see. Drew, do you need more time?
I mean, I can talk.
This is the Drew Watch 2023.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could talk this whole time. Like, I could talk.
Yeah? All right. Talk to me.
So I'll be honest. I haven't really had much time to play much. I'm still trying to work my way through Octopath 2. I will say, so Zelda came out on Friday, right?
Yep.
Zelda came out on Friday. I was traveling this weekend, and the only thing I could think about was Octopath.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as I'm digging through, like I'm almost 60 hours in. As I'm digging through this game and I'm starting to hit like the midway of these character vignettes, like I got hit with one this week that I'm just like, bro, I'm feeling feelings, and I was ready for this.
I love that.
Like, and you know, your mileage may vary depending on like how easy you cry or not. I cry very easy, so. But like, I want to say, like, because I couldn't play Octopath 2 because I was traveling, I was pretty much just dissecting where I was at the game and like how it was making me feel. And like, I love this game so much. This game improves upon the original in almost every way. Like, the game is not perfect. There are still some fundamental flaws in Octopath's overall like design choice and systems.
Mm-hmm.
Presumably like forcing you to stick with one character that kind of lopsides the game's difficulty. There are answers to that. There's equipment that you can find in the game to weaken your protagonist, so that even though they're over leveled, you can bring them down to the level of the rest of your party members. Because basically the way I've been playing the game is I've been constantly swapping out members because I like everybody, so I want to use everybody.
Right.
And like the only problem is just like the first game, like the character that you choose at the beginning, your journey's protagonist has to be in your party at all time. This causes 2 major issues. One, that is a guaranteed slot of like path actions that you're just stuck with. And second, because they're there for everything, they just get over leveled so fast. Like, my protagonist is 10 levels higher than the rest of my party.
Yes.
Which, you know, that does like lopside difficulty a bit, and I'm glad that they give you that equipment to sort of like normalize your protagonist with the rest of the party. But I'm just like, you can also just ditch this protagonist system because it doesn't really serve any purpose. The only purpose it serves, or at least within the context of the first game, is when you beat the final chapter of your protagonist, the credits roll. And I'm like, okay, cool, I guess? Like, there's nothing there that dictates your protagonist needs to be with you at all time.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I do think that there are a few design choices that Octopath kind of sticks to that, like, I don't really feel like they need to stick to. The other one being, like, you have 8 travelers, but you can only have 4 in a party at a time, which for battle purposes, that's fine. I get that, you know, they don't want to overload you with party members, but like not having all 8 path actions available to you at once. Like, I understand why they probably did that, because they probably want to like choose like what path actions you feel you'll need for you know, a given situation, but it really just ends up making it tedious.
Right.
I also don't know like how great the emphasis on path actions really is.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a neat idea, but I think like from a narrative standpoint and from a design standpoint, basing everything on path actions is somewhat limiting in your game's design. For example, from a narrative standpoint, there are story beats like as you're going through a chapter vignette, and like you'll be watching a cutscene, and then like the character will say something of like, "Well, I need to do this," and then the cutscene stops for you to do a path action, and then starts another cutscene. And I'm just like, why? What's the point of this?
It breaks up the flow, right? Like it kind of like takes you out of the scene.
Yeah, like, and I feel like it would be far less egregious if like the cutscene didn't fade to black, and then it fades in for you to do path action, and then it fades to black path action. Like if you all did it in engine to where like the cutscene ends and you just can immediately do the path action, and then it just picks back up. Sure, I guess, but like. That whole sort of design choice, like, I understand why they're going for it, because again, they want to be like, oh, there's these 8 travelers, and they all have like their unique skills and traits, but like, it doesn't feel necessary. Ironically, like, I think the reasons I like Octopath are not the reasons the developers think I like Octopath. Like, I like the characters. I like the battle system. The soundtrack is fucking 10 out of 10. Like, all of that is cool, and, like, the job system is really, I love job systems. So, like, from that aspect, I really like Octopath. The actual, like, path action sort of dealio is all right, but I don't feel like it really brings that much to the table, if that makes sense.
I think it does. I think path actions in general in like a lot of RPGs are implemented fairly poorly, and it just serves to be like an annoyance more than anything. It's almost like just like the root cause of like some sort of tedious thing you need to do, and it just like it's out of the game, right? Like I very rarely, and I'm struggling to think of one actually where I think I enjoyed its implementation. I would have to like really sit and think about it, but more often than not, I feel like it's a poor design choice.
Yeah, and like it doesn't make the game bad. Like the game is still good. I really like the characters. Again, the battle system's really fun. The soundtrack's amazing. Like this world building that they do, this sort of Dark Soulsy sort of. It's not entirely Soulsy in the way like they're telling the story of Celestia, but like you can definitely tell. And I think it does a better job in Octopath 2 than it does in the first game, where you can kind of see how all the traveler stories are loosely connected. And I think that's really cool. So like the world, like at the risk of bringing the Falcom me into this, like the sort of world building is it reminds me of Trails a bit, where like you have all these happenings, but you also have like all these characters' individual stories happening at the same time. And I think that's really cool. I think it's one of the things I really like about Octopath is this world building that they try to do. And I think if they just eliminate like, or just find a better way to do path actions, like the game would be better for it,
Yeah.
Because again, it leads to that sort of like stilted storytelling, and like when you do character chapters, like it's basically like fetch quests, and side quests are the same way, where it's like it's fetch quests based on path actions that force you to use the path actions to solve a side quest, and those don't like really necessarily feel fulfilling per se. They're just there, and you get cool rewards. In some ways, it reminds me of like Xenoblade side quests in the fact that like they're there, but they're kind of tedious to do, but they're there. Whereas like, and like they're called side stories in Octopath, and they could have like more meaningful side quests that didn't have to revolve around the path actions. Like you could have like really cool just side characters. I think part of it is due to like Octopath's open-ended nature. Like that is a problem to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are times that I'm not sure Octopath knows what it wants to be. Like it wants to be this open-ended story with like these 8 different stories happening at the same time, and you can have that, but like it's non-linear. Like the storytelling is non-linear, but it's also linear.
Yep.
And so like I feel like they would just benefit by it just being linear, and like you can have these 8 stories happening, but you could do it in a way that forces the player to go in like a certain direction, so you could build off on that. Because open-ended gameplay does limit what you can do in certain design aspects. Like it can limit, how you tell your story, or like what kind of story beats that you can tell. Like that part does limit storytelling. And in an RPG where you want to tell these stories, like these design aspects are going to clash.
Yeah, 100%. Like there's a lot of times where stories suffer for being open-ended, right? Like there's like a narrative through line that just kind of breaks, and then it creates situations where it just takes you out of it, or story chapters and things don't flow together. And like
the open-ended, the open-endedness of Octopath is an illusion, so to speak, because like you still get like gate kept by like level caps, and like, hey, this area you need to be like, you should be around like level 30, but you're only level 5. So like, yeah, you technically could go there, but you're not going to get very far.
Right.
So like, is it really open-ended? No, not really. So if that's the case, why not like sort of revamp where like you can still have this illusion of like an open-ended journey, but like you still weave this narrative tale that is unnecessarily like a linear path, but like your narrative could be that much stronger for it,
Yeah, if they kind of guided you through this a little more. I feel like linear is not the word I'm looking for, but it feels more structured, right?
Structured.
Where it's like,
and like you don't even need to make it incredibly linear. Like you could do it in a way where like you have to do everybody's chapter 1 first. That way, when you do everybody's like chapter 2, 3, and 4, like all the party members are there, and like they can interact on like certain story beats or whatnot, and like you can have more grandiose cutscenes.
Yeah, or maybe like instead of letting you pick which character you start first, maybe they just like commit to your first character and then just like have it to where you're going through a specific order that like narratively weaves all these characters in together. Like you can make them fit together as a group and still have this, 8 characters from 8 different walks of life with their own stories going on, but you can weave them together a lot easier if you just put more structure behind it.
Yeah. It's weird because like I feel like Octopath suffers a bit from like an identity crisis to a degree, because like it doesn't know exactly what it wants to be. But like what's here is good. Like don't get me wrong, like this is teetering on potential game of the year for me, because like everything comes together well in like a messy sort of way. Like I can tell you 100% this is the best soundtrack of the year, guaranteed. Like fuck Final Fantasy 16, fuck Street Fighter 6. This is the best soundtrack of the year.
You doubt my god, Soken?
I mean, soaking these nuts, like
wow.
Actually, no. I've heard some FF14 tracks, and that soundtrack's probably gonna be pretty good. But
this man hit me with the D's nuts. On my Lord and Savior Soken.
Yasunori Nishiki is like almost a Nobuo Uematsu of like the current generation. Like the soundtracks that he makes are amazing. Like these tracks just fucking hit. And I was pissed because as I was driving, I was like, you know what? I listened to enough of the Octopath 2 soundtrack that I can throw on and like listen to a half of a playlist before I have to shut it off before I like hear songs I haven't heard yet.
Right.
I can't find it anywhere. Like it's not on YouTube, nothing. And I'm just like, motherfucker. So like, I'm just, it's really good, man. It's really good. And like, I can't remember if I mentioned this, but I think I did, but I didn't go into detail. Like the character vignettes in this game are so much stronger than the first ones. I find myself caring and having more intrigue about these individual stories than the first game. Like the first game, I really liked Primrose's, but like the rest of them were pretty throwaway. I don't remember a lot about any of them. Like I know Hana was like trying to hunt a beast for her master.
Yeah, I like her.
Ulberich, I have no idea. Something about a fallen country or something. Therion had like some partner that betrayed him or something.
Trust issues.
Yeah. I like Tressa.
She's cute.
Tressa's tight. Cyrus was like looking into something, but I can't remember what it was. But see, that's my point. It's like I have these vague ideas of what their stories were, but none of them like really stuck with me.
Right.
Whereas like this game has me rewatching cutscenes from like earlier chapters to be like, wait a minute, is that related to this? And like,
oh, interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And again, like. It's pulling in characters that I was just like, I'm not sure I'm going to like this character. And then like, bro, the vignette that I did on Tuesday that had me in tears was from the character when I started this game was like, this is my least favorite character. Guaranteed. 100%.
That's always like the best surprise.
And now I'm like, why is this character making me cry? Oh my fucking God.
Like, I should hate you, and you're crying for him.
Although this was less about the character itself and more about, like, the situation that the chapter was in, but, like, I really like the character in that chapter. Like, I really like, this character is put into a very tropey situation. Like, their arc is somewhat tropey, but, like, I really like how the character is just developing trope aside, you know? They also probably have like one of my favorite character themes, and like that's helping them a lot. So they can't be my least favorite character because just everything seems to be like.
This is secretly a very Drew character. It sounds like.
Kind of. Like I really thought they were going to be boring. Like as I was doing their prologue, and then like as I'm doing their additional chapters, I'm like, oh, okay, you know what? This character's like pretty fucking tight. And like Particio the Merchant, like is turning into like one of my favorite characters. And like he was the one that was making me question if I wanted to do like English dub versus Japanese dub because he has like a very thick, like country southern accent, and I'm just like, oh, I don't know if I like this, but like it's grown on me to the point where like he's a very fun character and like his lines are very, very fun. Right. So like I couldn't see myself playing the game in any other way, and just like all these characters are really growing on me more so than the first game ever did.
That's awesome. I'm excited to get to it at some point.
It's really, really good. I'm hoping I can have it beat by next weekend so I can start Zelda. I already know some things about Zelda. But you know, we'll see how that goes.
He knows some things. He thinks he knows some things.
Something.
No, I know some things.
He thinks he knows.
But yeah, that's about it. That's all I've been doing, just playing some Octopath.
Okay. Sounds good. Nice. I like that. So I'm like 20 hours into Zelda, but I can't talk about Zelda because Drew said he'll kill me if I talk about Zelda.
Yeah, no talk about Zelda.
Nope, I can't talk about anything about Zelda. So
first rule about Zelda is we don't talk about Zelda.
We don't talk about the things Drew might know in Zelda. What else have I been doing aside from dumping 20 hours over the past three days? I finally started Coffee Talk episode 2.
Oh.
Coffee Talk is a game that I recommended a lot to people, though very few people have played it. I feel like, but it is a game that is very similar to like Valhalla, right? Where instead of this cyberpunk aesthetic, and you're running a bar, it's more of a coffee shop in Seattle.
Nobody wants to go to Seattle.
Nobody wants to go. It rains all the time in Seattle. Nobody wants to go over there.
Yeah.
But instead, the twist of it is instead of it being a cyberpunk world, it's more like a fantasy world that's kind of merged with our reality.
Also known as Seattle.
Also known as Seattle, right? So it's like on top of like it is like a modern day as well, right? So it's like 2023 Seattle. But alongside humans, you have like fantasy creatures. So there are vampires in this world. There are werewolves in this world. There are cat people in this world as well. Orcs. In the first game, you run into an orc lady that is a game designer, and it's very fascinating, her story, as she like complains about work and talks to other people. And you just run into all kinds of people. So it has that very same feeling as Valhalla, where you have wacky characters, you have more serious characters, and you're just very interested in like what's going on, right? In the lives of all of these people. So episode 2 is very much more of that. I've already been reacquainted with Georgie, who is this black police officer who's very prominent in the first game. He's kind of the first customer you really run into, aside from one of your close friends, Freya. He comes in always after his shift, sometime around midnight. Oh, this coffee shop runs in the middle of the night. So it is like their hours are from like 11 p.m. to like 6 a.m. or the crack of dawn, basically.
It's when I want my coffee.
Of course, right? That's when everybody wants their coffee. So it's this little low-key joint, like in some corner, not a popular, busy place. So he usually stops in after his shift and talks about what's going on the streets, or talks about his daughter and his family issues that are occurring. Pretty good family man. I like Georgie. He's great people. But in the beginning of episode 2, I'm already introduced to 2 new characters. Lucas, who is like, it's really funny because when you start the game off, it's like a rainstorm, right? And Georgie comes in and he's like, man, crime in the area is ridiculous right now. Somebody just slashed my tires. I can't get home. It's raining. I can't call a cab. My wife is yelling at me. So I'm just going to sit here until the rain dies down and have some coffee. And you're like, damn, man, you're having a night. And then walks in Lucas, who is like this young, seemingly like a YouTube star, right? Like he is definitely like a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer of some kind.
Oh God, it's Logan Paul.
We all.
But the thing is like he's not like the annoying type, right? It is very much a case of like he's trying to sort of rebrand himself, and he's trying to like find his way through that sort of life, right? Where it's like you could tell he's talking about how like his views aren't really as high as they used to be, and his manager is kind of like forcing him to do things that like he doesn't really want to do. You know what I mean? Like that kind of deal where it's like, do I want to do this for fun? Do I want to play the games or be the entertainer that I want to be, or do I want to do this for views, right? And it's like those are 2 very different paths. You know what I mean?
Clearly the views.
Well, that leads to like depression and some stuff too, right? Because it forces you to do the things that you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. Like we understand that life. Any sort of creative understands that life.
Yeah.
So it's a really good look at like that kind of character, and this is only like the intro stage of him, right? But he still kind of has like this sort of happy-go-lucky personality behind it. But you see the cracks that he's sort of like throwing down, and you're like, okay, I would like to know more about you. And as he's like talking through that, and you're getting to know him, and it's really funny because like he calls Georgie Pops, and it's just like a funny exchange between those two, and like the facial expressions between them are very, very good. there's a blackout in the cafe, and as you're going to fix the blackout, you see like Lucas is scared of the dark, so like his eyes are like freaking out, like you can only see his eyeballs. And it's really, really funny. And when the lights come back on, this other character appears, named Riona, and she's a banshee. And Lucas is like terrified. It is the funniest shit in the world. But when you start to like talk to her and learn more about her, she's like on a completely different end of the spectrum of like, she wants to become like a singer, right? But she's a banshee. So it's like, we know the archetype of banshees, right? Like the shrieking, the yelling and stuff like that. And she's going for like a very specific type of musical role that like banshees can't really succeed in. And she has like this really good talk with Lucas about like being an entertainer and trying to put yourself out there. It's a really good conversation, and it really sets the tone for like what this game is. And ultimately, like, what those two specific relationship will be going forward whenever they meet each other, because it doesn't necessarily end on like a great note between those two, because like there are instances where like they don't see eye to eye, but it's great. Coffee Talk continues to be like a really amazing series that's just like grounded in like almost real problems in like a fantasy setting. They also introduced not just coffee, but like tea is now a thing here, which they now serve hibiscus and blue pea, I think it is called, tea, which is a very funny exchange when you try to explain what blue pea is, and Georgie's like, pea? And like there's a fundamental misunderstanding of like what
very
it
much
is.
Fundamental, yeah. Can only imagine.
It's very, very good. On top of like the coffee making mechanics, very similar to like Valhalla, right? You pick your ingredients, you have like your base ingredients, you have like the next thing you throw in there and stuff like that. You do have latte art that you can make. And Riona is like the catalyst for showing you how to do latte art, because she wants a drink that looks pretty. So if you want to get into like, you know, the artwork side of things, there's a fully like robust latte art system in here. I'm very bad at it. I tried to make like a butterfly and it just looked like a blob, and I was like, well, this is the best I could do. But she told me it was cute, so I was like, okay, I did okay. She's lying to me, but it put a smile on my face.
You attempted.
I attempted. I get points for trying. Great game, great OST. All of the songs so far have really set the tone for this place. Much like Valhalla, you do have like a little jukebox in the corner where you can like set the playlist and set the tracks to play. Another thing that is really cool about the world building of this game is you do have access to a cell phone, which contains a couple of different apps. One being the Tomodachi app, which I think is a very, very good name for like a Twitter type space.
Did you say Totsugeki app?
Oh, Totsugeki. No, Tomodachi.
Gotcha.
Tomodachi.
Is that like Tamagotchi?
Close, but Tomodachi does mean friend. So it's a pretty apt name. And you can keep up with like characters they'll post on this Tomodachi app. Like it's pretty much Twitter, right? So like they'll post their tweets and like you can go in, you can like them. They have like little stories and stuff in there too. So if you want to get some more background story about like the characters and what they're up to, there's a lot of world building that happens in that app. And there's also like the news app as well. So like you can get the headlines of like what's going on in Seattle as a whole, right? And understand like, you know, this whole new like, I forget what the name of it is, but it's a new like law that just passed where it's welcoming like more races into the fold, right? Which is why you're starting to see like other different types of characters show up in Seattle. And there's like throwaway lines between like Lucas and Riona about like being a banshee. And I forget the type of race that Lucas is. I think he's like a minotaur, but I forget the term they use. But like they have this conversation about like, you know, the history of their people and like being accepted and like the low key like racism that goes on. And it's great. All of that stuff is fascinating. So if you want some of that stuff, if you want some good storytelling, some great characters, I definitely recommend Coffee Talk. It is a great sequel to an already awesome game. I hope they do more. Another game that I have been playing that has taken over my life is this game called Honkai Star Rail. I think I talked about it last week.
Yep.
I'm going to talk about it this week. I'm probably going to talk about it next week, and I'll probably talk about it the week after.
Fair.
Bro, so I just finished, like, as of like maybe an hour before we started recording, I finished like the first major story arc for the game. The planet you initially arrive on, I think it's called Jarilo 6, I think they call it, which is this ice planet. I completed the entire story segment for that place, and I loved a lot of that story. It's not like a fairly unique tale, but it was told very, very well. Like, you get into like the internal politics of what's going on there, the overworld and the underground. Basically, like, you have all the poor people in the underground, basically, and the rich people in the overground, and like the way that those two factions sort of separated, and the ruling party that is in place that is oppressing them, but also keeping secrets from the populace, and all that stuff was like really well told, right? It was nothing that like you couldn't guess was going to happen, but the way that it was presented to you was like very well done. And also like the way that it ended, I was very impressed with, because it gives you the sense of like, without like fully spoiling it, right? It gives you the sense of your job is done here. Not everything is like 100% good. Like, not everything is. The world is not all of a sudden a perfect place, right? There's still stuff left to do, and it takes a very like realist approach to like solving that world's problems. And I was very impressed by that, because I'm very used to like RPGs, or especially like something like this to be, you know, more like, hey, we saved the world, cool, let's move on to the next thing. It was like, no, y'all definitely put us in the right direction, right? But there's still more here, and I'm like, that's cool. I always appreciate when there's a little like open-endedness in a story, and it's not just, you know, everything is perfect now.
Right.
A bunch more systems opened up in that game. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it's definitely like there. I see where all of the grinding content is, right? Where sort of Genshin kind of throws a lot at you at once you get to that point of like, okay, here's all of the different areas where you need to grind these stages for equipment, and then here's where you get accessories, and then here's where you get essential materials. This kind of like takes its time to put all of that stuff out there and onboard you in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming. But also all of the activities that it kind of wants you to do, you get through it very quickly. So it still is a game that is not very time consuming in terms of like, let me get my dailies done, right? It's just more of a case of like, what do I want to prioritize today for my dailies? And it's like, does my characters need level ups? All right, cool. Today's dailies will be, let me just grind for XP materials. 5-10 minutes later, you're done. Cool. You can move on with your day or do story stuff, you know? Or the next day you can be like, is my priority, you know, I want more equipment. Okay, I'm going to do my dailies and focus on equipment. 5-10 minutes go by, I'm done with my stuff, right? So it's still a game that doesn't require a lot of time commitment. But all of the systems that were in Genshin are here. So it's like, the way that you have like your equipment sets and like set bonuses, that's still in this game, right? The way that every character has certain essential materials, and only certain dungeons will give you those materials, that is here. It's almost like a copy and paste. It's just you get through that content a lot quicker and a lot easier, which I appreciate that aspect of it. It makes it a lot more palatable, and it makes it easier for me to play. The roguelite mode that's in there. So this is the mode where like when you defeat an enemy, it gives you like a random power up, and you're basically going through the space to get to the boss. Very similar to like the Memento Mori mode that we talked about last week. That got way more interesting the further along I get. So it's like I unlocked the third stage of that, and at this point, the game is like pushing back a little bit. I have to think about like the boss fights more, not necessarily the trash mobs. Like that's still, I can set the game to auto and it does it. But I do have to think about like my team composition a little bit more, and I have to think about the buffs that I'm picking, because that shit can go sideways real quick, and I appreciate the little bit of pushback. And it's not like I'm not sweating, but it's like, okay, I do have to be on point with like when I do my heals and stuff like that, and that keeps me on my toes. So I do like that. But they also introduced the mechanic to where when you do those runs, you gain a currency to where you can get permanent stat boosts or permanent buffs for like the next runs. So it really turned into like a fully fledged like mini roguelike game that I found very, very fascinating. And like every time I get to like a new world, a new subsystem opens up that allows me to like crack out my team even further, or do really wild builds and runs in ways that I didn't think was possible. It flips that game upside down and turns it into like a very interesting like little 10-minute adventure. And I appreciate that. I appreciate all of the thought that went into all of the game modes in this video game. It's insane to me that this is a free-to-play RPG. Because it is one of the better RPGs I've played in recent memory, just like in general. The presentation is like 10 out of 10. The animations, the cutscenes, the voice acting, like the music is really good. The boss fight, the final boss fight for this arc, like actually blew me away in its final boss theme. In a way that like I was yelling in one of my chats, like because Chase already finished it, finished this segment, and I was like, so I just got to this part here. Why is this song so good? And Chase was like, yep, it's really good. You know, in that ways that like Chase, you can hear him saying that, right? And then like halfway through the fight, the vocals kick in, and then I just like scream. And
no.
Like Chase is like screaming.
You know it's real when the vocals kick in.
Bro, I was not prepared for the vocals to kick in. And it kicks in at like the right moment when like the cutscene is playing off and you transition to the next phase of the boss, and I'm just like, MiHoYo or Hoyoverse, like, what are you doing? Y'all are showing out in ways that like y'all shouldn't be. Like, this is insane. It was hype as fuck. One of my favorite moments of this year, I think. But it also introduces another very similar mechanic that carried over from Genshin, where your main character can switch between like elements, right? So like in Genshin Impact, your character first starts off, I think it's wind element, and you have like a wind overworld ability that you can use. And when you get to the next area in that game, you have the option of switching to earth element, which gives you like a different quote unquote path action, right? And as you travel through the game, you get different elements, and you can kind of like make your MC into whatever you need them to be to fit your team composition, right? This game does something very similar, where you start off as like one type, and in the process of this fight, you get the second type, which is a fire type, which is sick as fuck. They have a completely different ability set. Like instead of being a damage dealer, they are now a tank, and it is, again, some of the coolest like animations. I was popping off at just like the basic attacks, and then like there's a way to enhance your attack, and that attack looks sick, and I was just like, what is going on? This shit is amazing. So I'm very excited to see like what the other elements will do for your character, because it also changes the weapon that you use. So like initially cool. Your character is using a baseball bat, which I think is already a sick aesthetic. Like They just roll up and they just twirl the bat in their hand, and you're just like, oh yeah, shit's going down. But in the fire stance, they have like this giant fire broadsword, which I think is very, very cool. So I'm very curious to see like what the other elements will bring when we get there. And I feel like I think at this point it's only fire right now, and I feel like the other elements will come in future updates. I feel like the arc that I'm in currently probably isn't done. There's probably only a couple stages before I hit like the content wall, I feel like.
Right.
And then looking at like what the leaked what the new characters are in some of the leaks that have flown around, I can definitely tell like, yeah, we're going to be sitting in this arc for a little while, because the characters that are coming are part of this arc that I'm in. So I'm curious to see where that goes. It again is like, it feels tonally like a better Star Ocean, right? It's a case of like, we are traveling this universe and going to different places, meeting a bunch of different people and types of people. There's a very real emphasis on like this intergalactic community that's going on and like different factions of that. As you are
on console, I'll play it.
Soon. The console version is supposed to come pretty soon. But I'll also I didn't mention it last week, but you mentioning consoles brings it up. This also plays very well on mobile. Whereas like Genshin Impact was a mobile game, but like let's be real, the controls for that game was ass.
Not
like
good.
Trying to play that game on mobile is a chore.
Yes, it's terrible.
This game being a turn-based RPG runs incredibly well just as a mobile game. I play it a lot in mobile form. As I'm like, first thing I do when I wake up or right before I go to sleep, I will boot it up, I will do my dailies, or even progress story content. Like, I have no problems just like playing it on my phone for a little while. And then whenever I decide to actually get up, I'll move to my computer and play it on the big screen or whatever.
Interesting.
But it feels and controls great. I'm using a Pixel 6 Pro is my phone. And it runs 60 FPS, no issues. Seems really well optimized for mobile. I was very, very impressed with its performance. So I definitely like, if you're not against like playing on your phone, I highly recommend it as a mobile title. It feels and plays great. That was something I wanted to mention last week that I forgot about. So out of like the probably 60-ish hours I've put into this game so far, I've probably played like 15 of it mobile. So yeah, definitely give that game a look, man, because like it's blowing me away in pretty much every way you could. I was not expecting this out of MiHoYo. I was not expected to get into it the way that I am.
Right.
It is. I'm very excited for more Honkai Star Rail. Like, just I cannot emphasize that enough. I am all the way in. I am notoriously not a person that completes battle passes. Right, like usually I get a couple levels in on the battle pass and I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. I think this battle pass goes up to 50 levels or 50 or 60, and I'm already like halfway done. And that immediately, like when I saw I was at like level 25 of this battle pass, that's when I knew this game like actually has me hooked, because I don't think I've ever gotten that far in a battle pass in any other game that offers a battle pass.
Wow.
That includes like all the time I put into like Eternal Return and like their passes and stuff too. It's just like that passed a benchmark. That one I never even think about until I saw it, and I was like, yeah, they got me. Like, I'm probably gonna buy the premium battle pass and cash in all of these points that are now saved up. It's impressive, man. Like, please give that a look. I have also been playing. I feel like there was another thing on here that I was going to talk about real quick. and I might have lost it in my brain as I quickly pull up the Xbox app to look at my play history because I feel like it was on Game Pass.
The worst.
I'm saying, Cassette Beasts. Cassette Beasts is a game that just came out pretty recently. I think at the end of April, like April 26th or something like that. It is I'm not super far in it. I'm only like an hour into it, but it is a monster capture game, a la like a Pokemon, right? But it has like such a different tone to it, where like I texted Drew one day and I was just like, I think this game's gonna make me cry. Because like the way it starts is not like a Pokemon in terms of like, hey, I'm gonna be a Pokemon master and I'm going to travel the world and do all of this stuff. It is like you wake up on an island, you don't remember like where you're from, and there are like little throwaway dialogue that makes me think of, are we actually just dead?
Oh
like,
Lord.
Everybody shows up on this island the same way. We can't really remember our past selves, and we can't get off this place. And another character is just like jokes about death in a way that I'm just like, is this game gonna go place?
Digimon Survive vibes.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was not ready for that. So I really want to see where the story goes in that regard. But it is I almost want to say it's both very similar to a Pokemon game, where it's like you do have your capture mechanics, it is a turn-based game, right? But I know there's a lot of subsystems that are very different and unique. I just haven't gotten to it yet. So people were telling me about how the weaknesses and like hitting an opponent's weakness is very different, and not just a case of, it does more damage. It's like elements can like mix and match and sort of have different effects based off of like the weakness or whatever. It's very, very confusing. And I need to put more time into it to really like get a good feel and describe it properly. But it sounds like this game is very, very different. And while on the surface, it is very much a, hey, let me just capture this monster here or there. It seems like mechanically, it is very much its own thing. And I'm very excited to dig more into that and see what that stuff is. Because as someone was breaking it down, I was just like, this doesn't even sound like Pokemon anymore. But it has the presentation of it. So look forward to that when I actually get into that stuff, because it seems like I'm in for a very wild ride. But I'm very much enjoying it. I think the music in this game is really good as well. It's hard to describe it, but it takes me back almost to like a 90s era of music. I mean the game is called Cassette Beasts, right? So like the way you capture the Pokemon is you capture them in this like cassette tape, right? So there's a very specific vibe that they're hitting, both musically and visually, that I'm like, this is striking a chord. And the vocals that kick in for the hometown is just like 10 out of 10, like chef's kiss. It's really setting a tone. But yeah, I'll get into more of that probably next week as I put more time into it, so I can like really break down the systems of this game. Because I really want to get to that stuff. But so far it's great. It's really cool. Some of the best sprite work, like the sprite animation, is like really, really good. And Drew, I think you would really love the names of a lot of these creatures. They are very good puns. Pretty 10 out of 10 puns. And every time I see a new creature, I give a really long sigh, and I put my head in my hands, and I'm like, this is the most Drew game to ever Drew. And then I keep on going.
Fantastic.
It's
all was right with the world.
Yeah. This game has local co-op, which I find very interesting as well. Like split screen.
Only local?
Only local. because it is primarily it's primarily a 2v2 battle system. So you have a character that is with you almost at all times, and it seems like there's like a Persona style like social link system at play here too, as you can learn more about your partner characters. So I imagine it's just like drop in co-op in terms of the other player could just control the other person that is with you. But I thought that was kind of like a neat little addition that they didn't have to do. Like I don't think it really changes much in the grand scheme of things, but it seems cool. This game has a really cool like difficulty slider as well. I'm kind of like scattered with my thoughts on this game, but it has a really cool difficulty slider in that you can like really customize like your experience in how the AI treats these battles. So like as you bring the slider up to it being harder, you can customize things of like wild Pokemon will use random attacks, but trainers will like actively target your weakness and stuff like that. And I thought that was really fascinating, right? Because like when you think about it in terms of like wild Pokemon probably don't have like that kind of like, you know, thought, and they're just like throwing things out, and I'm like, oh, that kind of makes sense when you think about it, and like trainers are going to be more smart about battles. I was like, oh, that's very cool. And then as you slide it harder and harder, then it's like, okay, all of these things, you know, they're going to like target you more and more specifically, and make the game like way harder in that fashion. So I thought that stuff was really cool. I'm always a big fan of like getting in there and like customizing difficulty to like exactly how you want it. And I'm playing it on like not the hardest setting, but like a couple of notches away from that. And so far it's been good. So look forward to more thoughts on Cassette Beasts. I'm slowly plugging away at Hi-Fi Rush. I will beat that game at some point. I swear to fucking God. That game is still probably like my favorite game that I've played this year. And I haven't even finished it yet. But I think about that game very fondly. So yeah, I think that's it on my fronts. Hey Drew, did you hear about the Square Enix investor call that just happened?
No.
Oh man, so they heard us talking shit last week.
Oh really?
So they decided to get on a phone call. And was like, hey, we need to talk about our earnings and what our future plans.
This guy Drew over in Florida is talking mad shit.
He's talking bad shit, so we got to get our shit in order.
I mean, I understand, like, you know, my opinion holds sway over a lot of people.
100%, right? So basically they went over kind of confirming like what we were talking about a little bit before, where it's like this last fiscal year, which ran between like April to March 2023. So April 2022 to March 2023 is typically the fiscal year for the gaming industry. Overall, like their sales were down, right? They had some good.
Wow, shocker.
Shocker, right? They had some good sales here or there. So like Octopath Traveler did pretty good. Like Crisis Core Reunion did pretty good. But obviously like their bigger main titles like Forspoken and stuff like that tanked, right? So they also confirmed like, hey, Final Fantasy 14 in our MMO market is keeping us afloat. So it's like, oh yeah, Yoshi P is carrying this whole company on his fucking back. But I also do want to remind people that Dragon Quest X is still a thing that makes quite a bit of money for them as well, which is an MMO that they got that hasn't been brought over here. But people don't really think about it too much, but that is a game that is still making them money, as well as Final Fantasy 11. Like the MMO market makes them money. And that's funding all of their other projects. So they confirmed that is their strategy, right? Like, okay, we're going to have FF14 and all these other mobile games and MMOs. It's going to fund our AAA development. We need to get ourselves in order. And it's like, yeah, get yourselves in order. And then the president was like, so here's our plan for this upcoming year.
Oh boy, let me Let me mentally prepare myself because this is going to be a fucking winner, I'm sure.
It's fucking great. I'm going to read this quote here. So in response to these findings, Square Enix made a call to action to prioritize establishing a stable, recurring income. So what they're going to do is their new approach for a broader expansion will include aggressive research and development efforts and investment in AI, cloud, and blockchain games, stated by the president. So they're going to take all of the hard money that Yoshi P made. They see the error in their ways. They know that AAA game development isn't what it used to be. And they said, we need to go all in on AI and blockchain games. So Square Enix is on the path. They heard us talking shit. They know what they need to do. And I believe Square Enix is going to come out stronger for this.
Interesting. Interesting.
Goodbye, Drew.
Bye, Drew. Yep. That was the response I fully 100% anticipated. Hi, Drew. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
I wish you could see my face right now.
That is the takeaway. These motherfuckers.
How can you be that fucking stupid?
It's so good. It's so good.
Like,
Man.
Why?
Listen, man, it's the only way. Clearly, game development. Listen, man, these video games are not selling. The games that they're making aren't selling. How do you explain that, Drew? It can't be because of the quality.
Double down on the worst marketing decision you've ever made in your life.
Listen, man, they keep putting out these high quality video games and they're just not selling. It has to be blockchain.
I'm so upset.
Valkyrie Elysium would have been a better game if it had blockchain.
I mean, that may be a true statement. But that's more of a commentary on Valkyrie Elysium than the blockchain.
Listen, man, if Forspoken was made entirely out of AI technology, it would have sold more.
Do they just just not read a room? Is that what's happening?
They have not. They don't know how to read, let alone an entire room. It blows my mind. It blows my mind, really. Considering there's been no evidence at all in terms of these blockchain moves and stuff. It's very clearly a negative thing, right? In every facet. Any company that has tried it has failed miserably, and in every other attempt at this is usually a scam or preceded by very bad negative press. And these motherfuckers are just yes, this is the answer. I don't understand. I wish I could understand what they're seeing, because it is not reality.
All right, the president of Square Enix has to be embezzling money. He just has to be. That's the only explanation for this is he is just literally stealing from the company, and to cover his tracks, he's going to take Square Enix down. That is the only explanation I could possibly think of that they would fucking do this nonsense.
I mean, that makes sense to me.
Nonsense. Literal nonsense.
It's insane, dude. I don't understand what this company is doing. I hope Yoshi P takes over soon.
Needs to.
He needs to. Somebody save Square Enix. Or like I'm almost like starting to believe in like all the conspiracy theories that like Square Enix is just trying to tank their fucking public value so that somebody can buy them out. I'm like
but who
very
buys out
close.
Square?
I mean, probably Sony. If you was to pick like a big three, right?
Yeah, probably. Square would love to have the Final Fantasy franchise.
I'm saying.
Or Sony.
Yeah, I'm saying. Like that is like the rumblings I keep hearing and like the fucking theory crafting tinfoil hat theories I keep coming across. I'm like, you know what? Every action they make is kind of like making me a believer.
I'm telling, bro, the guy's embezzling money, 100%.
Has to be.
Like, mark my fucking words. It's on record. When that article comes out, like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months from now, fucking called it.
Bro, it wasn't just Yuji Naka. It was all the way at the top. It was all the way at the top.
Oh, wait, that's right. Did Yuji Naka get arrested for that?
Twice. Within 3 weeks. My man got arrested, was out on bail or whatever, and they got arrested again the week later.
Come on, bro. Just make video games. It's not hard.
It's difficult, Drew. We need blockchain and AI to create video games.
They're having they're having a hard time selling all their Final Fantasy games.
Yeah. They're not selling, Drew.
Final Fantasy VII Remake was below expectations.
Oh my god. I'm very surprised I have not seen that headline yet.
Mm-hmm.
Insane.
It's the only thing I can think of.
It's the only thing, man. If only Remake did more. If only it sold better.
Did they actually say that about Remake?
No.
Oh, okay.
Remake was, I believe, one of their best-selling titles in quite some time.
Exactly.
Yeah. That one hit.
But I mean, although considering everything that's happening right now, you wouldn't think so.
Exactly, right? It's everything else that is failing on them. So,
like, what's that Simpsons meme? It's like maybe I'm the wrong and all the kids are right. No.
Yeah, exactly. Principal Skinner.
Yeah. That's Square.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I am fascinated by this company and their self-destruction.
It is indeed self-destructing.
Mm-hmm.
It's infuriating.
Yeah, both can be true. But that's all I had. I just thought I should shout that earnings call out after our discussion last week.
It's a hell of a follow-up.
I'm saying, man. With that, does anybody else have any other topics you wanna go over? Anybody want to talk about Zelda? Zelda's a thing.
I think I'm good. I don't know how else we can possibly end that one. Oh, 2 new characters coming to Omega Strikers.
Oh, word? I didn't see that.
Yeah, they just they tweeted out about 6 hours ago. They're going to reveal 2 new characters.
Ooh. Okay. I'm excited. Mm-hmm. I hope one is a goalie.
Yeah. They definitely need more goalie archetypes.
They do. I mean, Dubu does everything, but give my hamster son a break.
Yeah.
I know.
He deserves a break.
He deserves the world.
Dubu.
So upset.
Oh my god, he's so upset. Let's end this podcast before Drew does something unheard of.
Yeah. I think it's a good choice.
Yeah.
Somebody give me 30 million and I'll go buy Square Enix and I will make good games.
I don't even think you need 30 million at this point.
You just need AI and blockchains.
Yeah, that's it. How much? Wait. How much did they sell their Western studios for again? Square Enix. What's there? 300 million? Okay. I bet you can buy Square Enix for like 100 million. I bet you they would cave. Mm-hmm. Let's start the Patreon. Let's start the Kickstarter. Let's JSB buy Square Enix.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to save Square Enix from themselves.
They are a risk to themselves and everyone around them. Let's get out of here before this just becomes Square Enix Doom posting. Mm-hmm. Ryan,
Rob,
where can people find you and all of the cool stuff you've been doing?
Let's see. Twitter, RCB_draws. It's where I post all my artwork, including my latest art piece I did. We were talking about Valhalla a little bit earlier, and
yeah.
I felt like revisiting one of my favorite characters from Valhalla, Alma Armis, and did an art piece of her, and it's been received very well. Of course, everyone's favorite titty hacker. So, yep, you can check that out and see all that. That will also be available as a print for the upcoming art booth I'm going to be doing in a few weeks from now over at Nakama on June 4th. Hopefully you guys can come by, swing by, say hi. I'll be selling prints and stickers. Also, fun fact, I had to get more stickers reprinted.
Hell yeah.
I almost sold out of all my stickers at work.
They're flying off the shelves.
Yeah, including Okayu. Okayu is probably the most popular one, so
I knew she would be. Mogu Mogu.
Yep, so I have to get some more Okayu done, printed. So you can find me there. I do stream on Twitch on occasion. It's just kind of whenever I feel like streaming. So you can just go there, twitch.tv/RCB_TV. That's primarily where you can find all my stuff that I'm doing and everything. I am going to try to complete one more piece potentially. Street Fighter 6, of course, is on the horizon, so I'm trying to decide if I want to do a Cammy fan art or a Jury fan art. I'm not sure which one I want to do, but I'm going to try to get that done before the release of Street Fighter 6. And since the art booth is on the weekend that Street Fighter 6 releases, I figured that would be a good time to try to have one of those. I do got the Bunny Suit Chun-Li stickers still, but I do want to try to get, like, at least the plan is to try to get one print done of either Cammy or Jury. I'm not sure which one I want to do yet.
I mean, listen, how well can you draw feet? Because there's been a feet surge lately thanks to Street Fighter. So I'm pretty sure the feet fellas will turn up in.
Everything's terrible.
You know, this is the world we live in.
Cammy it is then.
Does it have to be?
It's what we're in.
If you want to get isekai'd.
Feet Kun. Isekai'd by Feet Kun.
Isekai'd by Feet Kun. You know, feet do be driving those trucks that be
this is true.
People.
This is true.
You know.
Speaking of, like, isekai'd.
So you can find me on Twitter at JSB Totally Drew. Tweeting about some, Square Enix opinions and whatnot.
Getting isekai'd by feet.
Yeah.
I see. I understand. And you can find me on Twitter doing stuff. Yeah. That's about it. You can find all the JSB stuff going on at Jack Savage Base. I had to think about that for a second. Oh my god. Where we post up all the things that we've been doing. There's a couple of other new stuff floating around. I feel like our old friend Nick and Asher have been thinking about some new content lately that I'm trying to push them to do, which I think would be very cool. I believe there's going to be some stuff happening at Nakama, possibly soon with the JSB Anime Cast crew, as they open up their izakaya side of the store. So look forward to that stuff. Dokapon Kingdom just came out a week ago, so I'm trying to possibly organize some Dokapon content to throw up there. So there's gonna be some fun stuff. I'm gonna keep trying to think of new stuff to throw up there because I want to just do things. So yeah, keep an eye on that stuff there. Be sure to listen to JSB Anime Cast as well. Let me know your thoughts on that stuff. Follow all these goons on this call for all the cool things that they do. I appreciate them for being here and doing all this stuff with me. And we will be back next week. Bye.
Later.
Everything is terrible. Let me buy Square.